All right, so my entire presentation relies on your participation in answering this one question. So I really need max participation here. My whole talk also assumes that most of you will pick one particular face here, so I'm pretty nervous. All right, so out of the two faces presented, which one do you believe is most intelligent looking? If you believe the face on your left is most intelligent, please raise your hand. Now raise your hand if you think it's the one on the right. There's always a couple odd ones. That's great. So as expected, most of you chose the face that is also considered most attractive. Now there's a couple reasons for this. The first is what's called the attractiveness halo, where desired personality traits are ascribed to attractive people over unattractive people. The second reason most of you chose the face on the left is because people usually agree on which face is considered most attractive. And research suggests this is true even across cultures. Lastly, this is a smart audience, which contains a group of people that are probably more intelligent than the general population. And while you may think that people who are more intelligent are less likely to be influenced by the attractiveness halo, we conducted research at the University in St. Andrews and found that people who were more intelligent were more likely to say that an attractive face was intelligent looking. There's a lot of potential reasons for this, but the one that stuck out at us at the most was that people who are more intelligent value intelligence as a trait in others, and as such, find a face that they think is intelligent looking as being attractive. Most people's first question when I present this kind of research is, what is facial attractiveness, right? And a simple answer, without getting too wrapped up in the details, is that research has highlighted certain components of facial attractiveness, including symmetry, averageness, and health. Now, that being said, attractiveness is still quite subjective, and what is considered most attractive to one person may not be most attractive to another. But the message I want to get across today is not what attractiveness is, but rather the strength of the attractiveness halo and its potential consequences. Attractive people are perceived as more successful, dominant, sociable, trustworthy, mentally stable, intelligent, and that's not all. Attractive people, on average, make $5,000 more a year than unattractive people. And attractive defendants are less likely to be perceived as guilty. The attractiveness halo is apparently so strong, even our parents are susceptible to it, with parents showing more attention to better-looking children. And the same goes both ways, with infants as young as 2 months old, having seen enough faces to learn what an average face is, and in turn, gazing longer at an attractive face over an unattractive or unusual-looking face. But how does the attractiveness halo influence our actions towards others? The expectancy effect suggests that the more people expect of you, the better you will perform. And a host of literature shows that educators expect more from students who are considered attractive. And the expectancy effect implies that this expectation alone can lead to better grades and better achievement. The famous Pygmalion study showed that educators that were given fake IQ results on their students expected more from the supposedly smart students, and those students actually did better on future tests compared to the supposedly less smart students. And more recent longitudinal research has shown the expectancy effect can have lasting consequences, with young students that are expected more of having better grades in school 5 years later. But how do expectations become a reality? Some argue this is through a self-fulfilling prophecy. That is, I expect you to be more intelligent, I treat you more intelligent, and in turn, you feel the need and the confidence to act and be more intelligent. Expectations can be unintentionally communicated in many different ways. For instance, a teacher may spend more time clarifying instruction, call on a student more often, give more feedback to a student, or a teacher may just express more concern when a student who's thought to be intelligent isn't performing as expected. As such, attractive people are expected to be smarter, and they're given greater opportunities to be smarter because of those expectations. So some argue that teachers aren't biased. They're just accurate in their perceptions of which students will do better, and that's why students do better. That is, teachers don't call on students and give more attention to students who they think are smarter because they're attractive, but because they might actually be smarter. And some research has even gone as far as to argue that attractive people actually are more intelligent, and that you can accurately assess intelligence in faces. But larger studies with genetically informative twin samples fail to replicate such findings. And at St. Andrews, we recently investigated whether people could accurately assess academic performance in faces and found that this was only possible when statistically controlling for the attractiveness halo. That is, we measured how accurate a person's perception of academic performance can be when measuring how controlling for the attractiveness bias error that may be formed there, right? So these findings suggest you really are blinded by beauty. Now, given the strong implications of both the attractiveness halo and the expectancy effect, it makes sense and it is clear that educators must be cautious of the influence that attractiveness may have on their expectations of students. That being said, this message isn't just for teachers, though. It applies to anyone whose judgments of intelligence can make a difference, like employers, coaches, parents, and mentors. So for people out there, especially students, who aren't as blessed as the gorgeous audience I have in front of me today, and are afraid that the attractiveness halo may not work in their favor, there are some solutions. Get more sleep, right? So we found that this improves eyelid openness, and I'll talk about that here now. So we've been investigating ways. I'm a strong advocate for improving what's called locus of control, or the extent to which individuals believe they can control events affecting them. And as such, we've been looking for ways in which people can change their perceived intelligence, right? And so, sure, personality, fitness, grooming, and attire can all change one's perceived intelligence, but are there any other ways? At St. Andrews, we recently conducted an online study, similar studies still running, by the way, if you want to participate, and found that faces that had more eyelid openness and a very subtle upturned mouth curvature were perceived as more intelligent. We had facial images of 100 adults and 90 children rated for intelligence and attractiveness, and found that the faces that had more upturned smiles, right, and more eyelid openness were perceived as more intelligent regardless of their attractiveness. Working with collaborators in Sweden, we took pictures of people before and after sleep restriction and found that, as expected, people who were sleep restricted had less eyelid openness, and this resulted in them being perceived as less intelligent. Given the obvious relationship between sleep deprivation and reduced cognitive performance, it makes sense that we've adapted to find sleep-related cues like reduced eyelid openness as less intelligent looking. Now, the link between perceived intelligence and reduced eyelid openness is an obvious one, but some might find it odd that a smile would make you look more intelligent, as it may make you look more naive in some situations. But the smile I'm talking about is extremely subtle, and actually it's more of a subtle downturned mouth curvature or a subtle frown that's influencing perceptions of intelligence in a negative way. It may help you think about a term coined by comedian Miss Orsi called resting bitch face. This is what's considered an often unintentional, neutral facial expression that seems upset or sad in the resting position. Now, before I show you any more examples of what this facial expression looks like, I think it's important to stay gender neutral and emphasize that this is a phenomenon that happens to both men and women, right? So to show that, I looked up resting bastard face, and to my surprise, I found the following example and definition on Urban Dictionary. It says, one who has no friends and is a complete loser hated by all. The worst part is the example provided, though, which says Sean, which is my name, is a bastard face who will never get laid. Right? Yeah, quite the coincidence. I swear this wasn't posted by me. As you can see, it was posted in March of 2008. I was 16 in 2008, not doing any research on intelligence at the time. All right. So if you Google resting bitch face, a whole bunch of celebrities' pictures come up. And I was originally going to show you some of these pictures. So I thought it'd be pretty funny. But sadly enough, celebrities make far more than academics do. And as such, they probably have far better lawyers. So instead, I decided to round up a group of friends who were more than happy to act out this amazing facial expression for me. All right, so here's Jing. You can see her downturned mouth curvature here, influencing her perceptions of intelligence, probably not in the best way. Okay, here's Eric in his resting bastard face. I should probably mention all these people did fill out consent forms, I swear. And here's Muhammad. You can see some dramatic eyelid droop going on here. You can also notice my buddy in the background really enjoying this whole photo session. And last but not least, my dog, Willie Pete, who probably has the best resting facial expression of them all. All these faces have reduced eyelid openness and a very subtle downturned mouth curvature. Right? And you can see in the other faces presented, the first ones that I showed you, you can probably see these differences more clearly, with the face on the left having a very subtle upturned mouth curvature and more eyelid openness than the one on the right. So clearly these perceptions are influencing clearly these cues are influencing our perceptions of intelligence. Perceptions of intelligence are important. Okay, so if you're worried about how intelligent you look, you should worry. All right, but there are steps you can take to change your perceived intelligence. Okay, like I said, reduced eyelid openness is improved with sleep deprivation or with more sleep. Okay, and so for people out there, especially teachers, be aware of the potential bias that attractiveness may have, as awareness alone may be part of the antidote. And lastly, even if you're not sold on the detrimental effects of the attractiveness bias or the importance of perceptions of intelligence, I hope that after this talk, you realize how important expectations alone can be. I know that if my mentors didn't have high expectations for me, I wouldn't be where I am today. And it's those expectations that have given me and continue to give me the confidence and motivation to continue to excel. So don't underestimate. Instead, set realistic and manageable, yet high expectations for yourself and for others, and I think you'll be surprised by the difference this will make. Thank you.